This is the Horsepower Hour.
Yes, hello and welcome to another Horsepower Hour. This is Andy. Joining me as always is the late, great Admiral, Captain and Commander, Coy Forticus and Masterson Jr. Senior Esquire, Duke of Earl Grey. He's currently checking his phone, so we're just going to skip right over his intro.
Whoa, checking my phone? I'm sharing the pod.
Just like you guys out there should be doing, please do, if you like the show, share it with a friend, share it with a family member, share it with an enemy. We don't mind. You know, if you're sending it to somebody because you hate it, all the better, all the better. Get them hooked on the show that you love, please, and thank you. And we do appreciate you guys for being here. We've already got a few people jumping on the live. We appreciate that. If you have not seen the live video, if you're only listening to the pod, come over and check it out sometime. Join the Horsepower Hour Facebook group. Man, Coy, that group has just been awesome.
I still say that the actual Horsepower Hour Facebook group is more popular than the actual podcast. It gets more action.
Well, that's the way it goes. You know, that's just the way it goes. And I'm okay with that. Anybody that wants to come and join, please join. We love to see you and love to talk to you. There's been some really cool stuff to come through. Some hilarious photos and videos. Oh, my goodness. Coy, I got to pull it up real quick. Have you seen this video of, well, it was a Hellcat leaving a, or maybe just a Charger or Challenger. Was it just a Challenger?
I understood it was a Hellcat. I'm not, it's neither anymore.
Here's the deal though, is these things are starting to dethrone the Mustang. You know that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, we've seen a bunch of these wreck. I love the Facebook memories that come up because, what was it, like 5 years ago? There was the Mustang Fest where just everybody was wrecking. And now we've got a lot of these Hellcats that are wrecking. You know what? I don't want to wreck a Mustang. I don't want to wreck a Hellcat, but somebody needs to teach these dudes how to drive. Do you think it has anything to do with the paddle shifters?
I have no idea. I do feel like if you buy one of these from the dealer, they should just have a spot out back where they teach you how to do a burnout, leaving a meet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they just set up some cones, be like, all right, you're going to be burning out into traffic. Go ahead, just floor it and turn. And then if they get crate, they can practice a few times.
I just have to wonder if, I don't know, traction controls going a little wonky, because a lot of these newer cars, you can't turn the traction control completely off. And so maybe something that's happening is they're breaking the tires loose and then the ECU's freaking out and then it just kind of spins the car. Although that wouldn't be very cash money of Dodge, would it?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here.
Well, probably nothing that I'm describing. Either way, we can just look on and laugh.
Except we're in the crowd.
That sound is great.
Yeah.
Grand, wonderful.
Wonderful. Well, I do like that he stayed in it. So this dude pulls out, does a fat burnout, gets about half blocked down the road, or he goes sideways into the side of a truck. And the wreck's kind of over, but he leaves it floored and just rolls the Ford F-150 over, like just noses in underneath him and just topples it.
He looked like the tugboats trying to push that evergreen ship out of the Suez Canal.
Yeah. Did you hear a woman was driving that ship?
Coy, we're not going there.
I'm not even joking.
Happy International Women's Day.
She literally hit the curb in a boat. She curved the wheels on a boat. Just throwing that out there.
All right, Coy, tell us a little bit about what's going on with the MR2 this week, man.
Not a lot, honestly. I want to do a rear diffuser, and I want to do the center cut on the rear bumper. If you've looked at MR2s that have been modified, spiders at least, that you do this center cut in the bumper and you can see the exhaust, kind of the back of the motor. It looks cool, but you got to ditch the rear crash bar and kind of fab your own. And I needed to fab something anyways to mount the rear diffuser on. So busted out the trusty Rogue Fab tube bender that I have no idea how to use.
This is probably the second time you've used it.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I originally got it and I just bent some random bends in metal, just like, oh, look, it bends things. And I was like, wow, that was $80 worth of tubing. So yeah,
Gotta practice.
I mean, you got to figure it out, which I still am. I looked up the radiuses and all this stuff and did a bunch of math, and it wasn't exactly right, but it still worked. So actually worked out pretty good. Got my bends in, and I'm mounting that up. Got it tacked all together and sitting on the back of the car. And now I just got to start cutting up some aluminum mile per hour signs for my rear under diffuser.
That's awesome, man. And of course, my question right off the bat was, are you going to leave them painted? And you were like, no.
Yeah, no, it's not. You're not going to look over there and see a 55-mile-an-hour sign under the car. It's cheap, free aluminum that I scavenged.
Although that would be kind of cool. I'm just throwing that out there.
Look, when you get free aluminum, maybe you shouldn't leave. Like, just saying, this aluminum is free.
Yeah.
I just found it on a post down the road from my house. You know
Sure,
what I'm saying? So
right.
I don't want to leave too much evidence.
Yeah. Hopefully it wasn't like a stop sign or caution dip, alligators. You know what I mean?
Is the school crossing.
Oh, well, nobody needs that. Who
School
cares?
zone signs I always go for. That seems like the least damage could be done.
You found out some interesting stuff, though. You said somewhere between 7 and 10 degrees is really the sweet spot for a homemade splitter, huh?
So, yeah, I've been trying to do a lot of research into homemade aerodynamicals. And it sounds like, without renting a wind tunnel or just having a track to do lap after lap on to do testing,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to do a rear diffuser between 7 and 10 degrees, you're safe. Function, and that's where you should leave it. If you get a really big rear wing, they say you can maybe bump up a few degrees more, but it has to be a truly functional large wing. But even then, without a wind tunnel or a bunch of testing, God only knows. And so all the time attack cars and, you know, race cars that you see that have that literally like 40-degree angle, massive rear diffuser,
Mm-hmm.
that only functions correctly because there's also a massive rear wing above it. And I don't understand it, but between the two of those, that rear wing gets an action where it's kind of sucking that air up, and you can run a steeper rake on your rear diffuser. Without being an actual engineer or having access to a wind tunnel or having access to a track to do testing on, I'm just going to play it safe, and I'll probably do, 10 degrees. Call it a day.
I dig it, man. I dig it. And I'm glad you're talking about this, because I think we're going to go ahead and throw one of our special segments in right off the bat here today, because, I mean, you obviously have been doing a ton of research, and you sent me this article, and I'm pretty excited to go about it. Why don't we go ahead and do our top 5, this month's top 5 of the week today, right now. You ready to do it?
Right now. Let's do it now.
The Horsepower Hour presents this month's top 5 of the week today. This comes to us from drivingline.com. We will have, of course, links to everything that we talk about on this episode underneath of the podcast description. So if you're listening to the show, go ahead and jump in the description and follow those links. If you're watching the video, the links are there too. So feel free to go ahead and pop it open and follow along. What's up first here, Coy?
The first thing up, this is the 5 worst mistakes you can add to your car, aerodynamical edition. Wings that add drag. So those factory spoilers on your car do little to nothing, or they can sometimes actually help your drag coefficient. They actually make your car a little slippier. When you go out and buy the Ghetto Zone wing from your local Vauto Zone, it's not doing anything good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact,
wrong zone.
Yeah. The worst zone, the drag zone. It's either adding a ton of drag and no downforce, or little to no downforce and still an insane amount of drag. There's just, it's a lose-lose.
And people need to understand, spoilers add drag. That's just the way it is. You're redirecting the airflow around your car, so it is going to induce drag. But race cars, they balance that out. They have downforce being produced, and they balance that with the amount of drag that it's producing. So if you can find a way to make a spoiler that has less drag but produces more downforce, obviously you're going to use that. Do you remember the Subaru STI when it first came to America and it had those upright fins in that big wing on the back?
Wasn't that the Evo that had the vortex generators?
The Evo had the vortex generators on the top of the roof. It had those roof line vortex generators. But the STI had a model where it had these upright slats on the wing.
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about.
And it's because engineers found that when wind was passing through there, air was passing through there, obviously you want that wing to generate downforce, but also having those slats would help keep the car going straight, like through jumps, even while sliding sideways on a rally stage. It was easier to kind of get the car back into shape. We don't need that quite so much now with all of the electronic goodies handling traction control. So it kind of made that obsolete. But there for a while, that was a very popular and very in thing for competition rally cars to do, was those upright slats on the wing.
Did not know that.
It's fun learning about aerodynamic stuff, but man, it seems like black magic and wizardry when you first get into it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, look at this double-decker spoiler.
I literally know of that exact wing was on an Eclipse that lived next to my grandma's house.
Gross.
Yuck.
What's up next, man?
Scoops that add drag. So I know we all love that old school giant scoop in the center of the hood.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Especially awesome, ones with the flappies, that open and close.
Mm-hmm. Little blower action.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is those were popular because when you had a giant V8 in the middle of your hood and there was a big carburetor directly under there and you're trying to force air down the gullet of said carburetor, that was really your only option.
Mm-hmm.
But in a world of fuel injected cars, you can literally place the intake anywhere you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
And by anywhere, I actually mean anywhere. I've actually seen guys plumb them inside of the car.
Right.
Yeah. So it can be put anywhere. So you don't really necessarily need a giant scoop on the hood that adds a bunch of drag. So you can run it down the bumper, cold air style. You can run it to a fender. Yeah, you can put it literally anywhere you want. And then they also make these things called NACA ducts now, which are extremely low drag intakes.
Mm-hmm.
So another option for you there.
And we've all seen those. They look like half an hourglass, kind of inset into a real window.
Yeah, I love NACA ducts. NACA duck everything, honestly. Like NACA duck the world.
NACA duck the world. That needs to go on a shirt. You know that, right?
Done and done.
Number 3, air vents on fenders.
Yum.
I mean, listen, I dig the look, but that is kind of an interesting thing because you don't really know where the airflow is coming from or going in.
Well, as long as the air vent on the fender is actually an air vent, it actually goes through into the tire well, and then there also has to be no inner fender for that to work properly.
Right, because you need that air flowing through. If it's not flowing through.
And some of these, I think guys have, in a true sort of way, actually cut them through and into the engine bay to get more airflow through the actual engine bay. So either way you do it, whether you're trying to pull air out of the fender to get rid of that high pressure zone, or you're trying to pull air out of the motor engine bay, both acceptable. The AutoZone stick-on chrome vents, or as this shows, the BMW Z3 classic car that has vents on the fenders that are non-functional. Either way, the functional version, totally fine with. The non-functional version, please kill yourself.
Could you imagine somebody looking at your car and being like, oh, nice vent, and being like, yeah, it's cosmetic?
There's no version of cosmetic for me. There's no anything. If it's cosmetic, it's because it was really functional and like, I'm sorry, this is a cosmetic flaw, but it works well.
Yeah. It's like me saying that this microphone is cosmetic.
Yeah. Like my body doesn't even have things for cosmetics. You know what I mean? Like
I might argue that your beard is cosmetic.
That's more of like a sticker over a dent. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, yeah.
Technically, it's
covering up a
cosmetic, but yeah,
problem.
it's more smearing mud on something to get a dent to look less bad.
It's a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. I'm with you. All right, number 4. What's up here?
Dive planes, or as I love to call them, canards.
Canards.
Canards. So canards or canards or dive planes, whatever you want to call them, they're something that does add some actual downforce to the front of the car. They're actually created
when done right.
Yes, sorry. They're actually created aerodynamically to put a swirl on the air beside your car, create a pressure zone to keep the air that's under your car flowing under your car. And it makes like these two walls, this swirling air down the side of your car to keep it from exiting under the car on the sides and exiting in the rear.
Do you know how much these descriptions sound like a motivational speaker, by the way? It swirls. It's happening down the car. It's swirling. It's happy. It's fun. It's low pressure. It's easy. It's keeping things flowing. The chi, the energy, it's flowing through. It's creating swirls that catch that bad energy and let it flow out the back end. You sit on the toilet. It just goes, it flows in through your mouth, right out, down through the bottom. That's what canards do. They swirl the chi. They let the good energy flow. They let the air gets slippery, and you just glide right through life and on into the you were always supposed to be.
So now that you bring that up, have you ever seen like the Oriental picture of like the chakra points and all that stuff going on?
Orientals.
Orient. I'm just saying.
The ancient Orient.
What kind of medicine is it?
Acupuncture. Acupressure. Chi.
Yeah.
Medicine. Eastern medicine.
It's Eastern medicine?
Eastern medicine. There you go.
Okay. Fine. Whatever. I guess I can't be hating on Asians right now because hashtag stop Asian hate.
Anyways, the chakras.
The chakra points, and it shows all the
chakras. Is it chakra or chakra?
I don't know. I just say it whichever way and wait for somebody to correct me.
The Charlie points.
I don't remember which way is right. Somebody once corrected me, and I was like, yeah, I know chakra is what you're thinking, but chakra is actually 10,000 units of chakra. So I'm just, this is like, a metric ton versus a ton.
Yeah.
And they had nothing to say.
1.21 chakra.
That's not how it works. I was like, hey, I have over 10,000 points of chakra. About to punch you right now.
I'm focusing them all in my fist.
Sorry. About to do some ninja art move. Anyways, you ever see that move? It's all the blue lines and stuff. Actually looks a lot like a still shot of the smoke and stuff in an aerodynamic tunnel.
Oh yeah, totally.
So maybe the what you're saying there has some validity. Either way,
you know what they say, Coy? Feel the chi, repulse the fuckboy.
Who says that?
Me right now.
Okay,
we're gonna put that on a shirt.
Gotcha. Either way. Canards or dive planes, whatever you want to call them, cool looking. Done wrong creates a ton of drag and doesn't do anything. Done right does a bunch of cool stuff. So be careful with those. They also get blown off if you do autocross. They get smashed with cones. So those super expensive carbon fiber planes that you bolted to your bumper literally just explode when you bash a cone. So that's another thing to think about.
So instead of using it, like if you're not worried about aerodynamics and you just want the look, instead of using the carbon fiber ones, I highly recommend just going to Home Depot, getting some of the bathtub splash guards because they're already curved.
They got the perfect shape.
Yes. Yeah.
Hit it with some carbon fiber 3M vinyl.
Yeah. They're ribbed for your pleasure.
Done and Dunsky.
Exactly. If you want to, you can even take like a soldering iron and put some speed holes in it.
Speed holes in the... I'm not a doctor, but pretty sure that's not how it works.
All right, fair enough. Well, what's your number 5 here?
Number 5, they did splitters that scrape every driveway ever. That's how splitters work, though. I don't have a problem. Like, if you're doing a splitter, it's going to scrape on stuff.
Yeah. It's got to be low because it has to catch that air.
Yeah, you need it functional. You want to split the air? Yeah, it's got to be there. It's got to be down there. I have seen some guys that make these little tungsten shoes that you bolt on the bottom. They're just, I don't know, little boat-shaped pieces of tungsten that that you hook on the bottom, and that way when you scrape on stuff, that makes cool sparks and
Real sparks, yeah.
yeah, and doesn't destroy your super expensive splitter. Hopefully.
Well, hopefully, yeah. I mean, unless you take a real steep angle at it.
I've also seen they make, so normally I can't remember what these called. They're kind of turnbuckles that you set the angle of those with.
Yeah.
So they make turnbuckles that have spring, you can push them apart or pull up on, you can tighten them to however tight you want. But if you push on them more, they have internal springs. So it will let your splitter flex up, but not down. So it'll still catch the air and it will pull down on the front of your car. But if you have to scrape hard on something, it will let it flex up.
Interesting. Okay.
Cool little product.
That is very cool. And I mean, splitters in general, I find very cool because anything that helps force the air through your radiator, through your intercooler and into the engine bay, that in my opinion is a good thing. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can screw that up. Obviously, if you mount a splitter and it has even a 5-degree angle up, it's actually going to increase the pressure underneath your car and make it more unstable. So it's real easy to screw something like that up. People need to realize when it comes to aerodynamics for a car, the larger a component is, the easier it is to screw that thing up. You know what I'm saying?
True that.
Well, I mean, if you've ever seen any of the videos of like race cars flipping through the air after going through over a crest or something, right?
Yep.
The Mercedes one is a famous one. And it's not because whoever built it didn't know about race cars. Obviously they did, but it was one of those unique situations where just enough air got underneath of the splitter that wasn't supposed to be there. And it caught the car and flung it through the air. There's another video. I will find it and I will post the video in the Facebook group, but there's a dragster that did a power wheelie at, I don't know how far down the track they were, 300 feet. Maybe they did a power wheelie. They were already going so fast and there's no underpan. It's a tube chassis with a fiberglass body. That thing caught the air like a parachute and it crossed the lights in the air. It literally just sailed through the air because it had already gotten so much speed going. Aerodynamics are real. They're legit.
It is mind blowing. I mean, you look up and you see 747 flying through the air. Your mind comprehends that for some reason. When you see a NASCAR or like you said, the Mercedes just catches some air on the track, some air gets in the car and then goes 7 feet in the air and does a back. It's hard to imagine that the air has that much power or force to do that. Another one that I would invite you to watch if you want to realize the absolute force of air is the high-speed boat races, like the hydro boats, hydro thunder boats,
100%. Yes.
Plenty of video of those just flying through the air.
And dangerous, real dangerous. Those boats, there are so many people killed in those. I can't remember what the statistics are, Coy, but it's bad. I mean, obviously there are a lot of things that they've done to increase the safety now, the pods that pop out when they wreck, air supplies, stuff like that. I want to say it was in the 90s, like the mid 90s. I remember I was a kid when it happened, but there was a rash of really high profile people that died in hydro boat related crashes. Because exactly what you're talking about, they'd catch air, they'd flip over. There's so much G force being exerted and knock the driver out, and then the boat would just sink and they'd die.
Yeah. No, it was horrible. That's when they came up with the pod, and that's slowed that down a lot. But that's an entirely different thing. It has nothing to do with aerodynamics. But
that's a great really top cool 5. Story. I love aerodynamic stuff. I don't understand all of it, but it's very cool stuff. It's very cool to be able to have a thought experiment about what are you putting on your car, what's actually going to make it better, what's actually going to make it worse. Could you imagine getting to the point where you and I could afford to buy like some wind tunnel time?
No, I can't. And I would be scared too, because the worst thing is that you finally like, all right, I've saved up $2,000. I'm going to buy some wind tunnel time. And you just got enough time to go, wow, my Aero's fucked.
Yeah.
And then you just leave. You know what I mean?
Leave defeated.
Yeah, just like, well, all that stuff I thought without the wind tunnel didn't work. So now I have to rebuild everything, but I don't have an actual wind tunnel to test everything. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I actually have a buddy that works at a wind tunnel. I'm not gonna say who. It's nobody you know. They're out of state. They're in Mexico. I visited him the last time I was in Mexico, but he works at a wind tunnel, and that was one of the coolest experiences ever. I was visiting, and we got some beers and we got some food, and he's like, "Hey, bro, do you want to come and check out the wind tunnel?" And I said, "Does the Tin Man have a sheet metal cock?"
So 10-pound Robin fat.
So it was kind of funny. On our way driving there, he's in a BMW M5, one of the older V8 M5s with a 6-speed manual transmission, right? And I knew he was going to try to rabbit away from me because I was in my pickup, and he was like, "All right, come on, old fart, grab your farm truck and go." So I knew that he was going to do something. So he turned right on a red, and then I just didn't stop. I just rolled right through it because I knew he was going to hammer it the second I got out of there. And so I reached down real quick, turned my boost controller up all the way, and just mashed it. And he didn't really walk away from me at all. And we got to the factory, and he was like, "Holy shit, that truck's fast, like way faster than I thought it would be." But anyways, great time. He let me drive one of their forklifts. I actually wrecked it into a doorway after he told me not to wreck it into the doorway. So, it was awesome. It was super awesome. And then went on a tour of the wind tunnel, and he's like, "Hey, you want to fire this bad boy up? Feel what it feels like?" I was like, oh, buddy. Oh,
Does a tornado love trailer parks?
And it was so awesome because they had a big mock-up vehicle in the wind tunnel. So their wind tunnel maxed out at 60 or 65 miles an hour. Still awesome. You can lean into it, and your clothes are all, puffed out and everything. But then he turned the turntable with this big mock vehicle, and the way he turned it, it actually increased the air on the more narrow side, so it got up to like 85 miles an hour, and you can only step out into it for a second, otherwise you'd fall and it would blow you against the wall. It was crazy. It was super awesome.
Did he pop the smoke?
He didn't pop the smoke. No, we had some good times in the wind tunnel. Believe it or not, we were still actually able to converse, and I wasn't screaming at the top of my lungs. But yeah, what a cool experience. I'll never forget that. It was so cool. But I don't know if there was some way we could figure out how to get our cars in there. I don't even think he's been able to put his cars in there though. So
probably never. There are places where you can buy wind tunnel time, and it's fairly reasonable. A lot of the like Formula Atlantic guys and stuff do that. You can also get the CFD Flow. It's like a CAD software. So if you are any good at that and can get a pretty good model of your car, and some depending if you're buying good wings, they'll have a CAD file for that wing and have already done that, so you can actually put the wing that you've bought on the car in this program, and kind of, it's not a wind tunnel, but it's closer than guessing. It's closer than me just researching, going, yeah, 7 degrees sounds good. It's better than that.
It probably is good for a 240SX, not great for a Ford Festiva. I'm just going to assume.
Well, I mean, if you had an accurate model of a Ford Festiva, then technically it would be just as good. But
we do have a friend that has a 3D modeling, one of those guns where you can just scan and 3D model.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Dallas Cutler over at SSB Design, he has one of those. We could probably take a pack of beer over there. The good stuff, not the cheap stuff.
Get him to scan the entire MR2.
It'd only take 4 days. We're fine.
I'm not sure. I might have to buy a new computer to process all the data.
Hey, I'm glad we're talking about race cars because it actually moves us into one of our news articles for the day. This is going to come as no surprise to you or really anyone else, Coy, but the 2022 Chevy Camaro drops the 1LE pack for the V6 and the turbo models. And just a quick reminder, the 1LE is their track pack.
Yeah.
So it had the upgraded suspension, sway bars. It had the bigger wheels with performance-minded tires on it. I think they were Michelin Pilot Sport Cups, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm guessing that they dropped this because people who are buying V6 and turbos weren't interested in the track pack.
I would have to assume. I think the sales for this model were very low, or both of these models,
Probably.
It is kind of.
I honestly didn't know they made a turbo Camaro.
Yeah, the turbo 4-cylinder Camaro.
Has it sold at all?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think very many people are buying it, but some people.
I haven't been standing there and had a Camaro drive by pshawing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, not unless they've turboed their V8. Yeah. And listen, I'm not trying to be shitty about it, but like, if you're going to track a Camaro, are you really going to buy a V6 or the turbo 4-cylinder model? That's always kind of been my thing. It's weird. You want a Camaro, and listen, the V6 Camaro, that's a great motor. It's producing over 300 horsepower, which is not bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you look at the available options, it's just hard for me in my eyes to justify why you'd get the base model. I know that there's a place for it. I know that there are people that want that. They want a cool looking car. They want a cruiser. They want to get a little bit better fuel economy. 300 horsepower is still going to be able to get out of its own way. But I will tell you right now, I had a rental V6 Camaro. What was that? A year and a half ago? It was before my car accident. It felt slow for having 306 horsepower. It really did. It felt slower than it should have.
Automatic since it was rental.
Yeah. But come on, I did a couple of 0 to 120 sprints.
Well, yeah. See,
hypothetically, allegedly.
I have found that when you're autocrossing or track or hill climb or whatever, and you come across the guys that have like the V6 Mustang that they're building, it's because they bought a V6 something, wasn't into racing because of the car they got into racing, and now this is what they have. Moving on.
Matthew Brown's in the comments says too heavy for a 4-cylinder. I tend to agree with him. Even if it is turbocharged, it's just not the right application. This is a bigger, kind of heavier car, and I don't know. I know that the technology has advanced to the point where these are really good motors. I understand that, but this is a big car.
For me, it's almost it's an ethics thing. Like the Mustang and the Camaro guys, the Corvette guys, they've been talking crap about turbo 4-cylinders for my whole life. My whole life's been like, oh, yeah, so what if you win in your Honda? This is like winning the Special Olympics. You're still retarded. They just on and on, just dogging 4-cylinder turbos. And then they make a Camaro 4-cylinder turbo. I'm sorry. This is, you got to walk back what I need apologies for all the trash talk, or you just need to not make a 4-cylinder turbo.
Right. It's almost it's like an inexcusable step or inevitable step in an inexcusable cycle, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that.
I don't know. It doesn't make me hate the Camaro anymore. I'm actually not a fan of the Camaro. I don't like the way things are inside. They're very plasticky. They don't have good visibility outside of them. The visibility, and people roast me all the time for saying this, but the visibility out of these is just terrible. It's terrible. Looking out the back, like looking in your rearview mirror, you can see very little. There's no way really to see your blind spot. I don't like driving the Camaro because it is hard to see out of. That's a big issue for me. It's cool looking. Obviously it's quick. The motor is good. The suspension is good. All of that. I understand all of that, but I don't enjoy driving it. It wouldn't be a daily driver for me.
For me, the Camaro is hard. I agree. It's hard to see out of. I drive a lot of vehicles hard to see out of, so it doesn't bother me as much. But there's only one way I would drive a Camaro, and that was with a giant louver package down the back glass.
100%.
Which is going to make it even basically blind. I'll be blinded. So that would be bad.
The louver packs do look a little bit weird for these because they're so small.
Oh, somebody makes a massive one, though.
Do they?
They have to.
Well, it's just the back window is so small. The louver packs that I've seen, they're very short, they're very narrow, and they look kind of weird. When it comes to a late 80s turbo Japanese hatchback, there is only one way to have it, and that is with the giant rear window louvers. 100%.
Another car, the last generation of Celicas.
Oh, yeah.
There is no way to own a Celica where you don't buy massive rear windows louvers for that rear hatch.
100%.
I should say.
And you know what? If you guys don't agree out there, you can feel free to
shut your whore mouth.
I mean, you can let us know, but we're not going to care. Seriously. Here's a car that needs rear louvers right here, Coy. The new Toyota GR86, not the GT86. And we're assuming they call it the GR for Gazoo Racing, which is the racing version of Toyota cars.
Yeah, it's like what TRD was.
Mhm.
I'm not sure why we've changed it.
Well, TRD Pro is now the off-road stuff, and Gazoo Racing is GR. That's their new car.
Yeah, but there were
go
TR
fast
edition
stuff. I
stuff
know.
like all over the world.
I know.
Before
Yeah.
this, but I mean, Gazoo's. I mean, it makes sense. Gazoo means fast, right?
No, I thought it was something you said after you sneeze.
Yeah. I'm just yeah.
Gazoomy.
Yeah, Gazoon. I like it. Whatever. GR sounds cool.
It does. It sounds more racy, doesn't it?
The overall styling of the restyle of these, I like the old ones better.
These are very bland. And I'll tell you what, man, any of you that are listening to the podcast right now, do go and check these photos out, because it is striking how few differences the body has between the GR86 and the BRZ. They nearly look identical to me.
Not surprised. I mean, they are the same car for all intents and purposes.
This back end is very strange. It looks like a first gen Tiburon. I'm not a fan. It's very strange looking.
It reminds me of the taillights on the Solera.
They've gotten rid of the rear spoiler for the most part, because this just looks like a trunk lid, right?
Are they trying to make this kind of baby Supra looking? Do you feel that?
Yeah, I think so.
It feels a little bit like that's what they got going on, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we're going to make our way in these photos over to the side-by-side comparison of the front end. Look at that.
It's just, yeah, it's basically the same car. The headlights aren't even different. I mean, well, technically they're slightly different, but barely noticeably different. I'm not even sure. I think I like the GR better, but I'm not. It's not a clear win for me. They're both pretty hideous, honestly.
So the BRZ has these larger cutouts in the sides, and then it also has kind of the Miata smile. And because I'm such a Miata fanboy, I think I kind of lean that direction. Now, this color combination that they put on the BRZ to throw up against the GR86, not good, because you just got these weird matte silver, like forged aluminum wheels. The blue is okay, but I could have done with some different wheels. And then in this photo, the GR86 is that red with black accents and black wheels. So aesthetically, it looks better here. If they'd put gold BBS wheels on this BRZ over here,
that would have looked a lot better.
Yeah, I think it would be, we'd be singing a different tune here, personally.
See, I'm kind of leaning towards the GR86 just because the grill is so much bigger. The actual, I feel like there's room for a giant intercooler in there, which it would be nice if Gazoo did a actual FRS GT86 GR86, whatever they're calling it now, version that was turbocharged or something. And then that would give room for Subaru to do an STI version. It
would be nice, but the word on the street right now is that no turbocharged or supercharged version is going to be available. The 8.6 now comes with a 2.4 liter flat 4, so it's not the 2 liter anymore. And it does bump the horsepower up, 232 horsepower and 184 foot-pounds of torque. Of course, going through a 6-speed manual transmission, and the car itself weighs 2,800 pounds. That is good for 6.3 seconds, 0 to 60 time.
So it's almost as fast as an F2000 that got made 21 years ago.
I'll do you one better. It's almost as fast as a Honda Accord being made right now.
I get the idea that it's a cheap, lower powered sports car. And you know what? If this was made in 1993, this would be a legitimate sports car.
Hell yeah.
Now it's like we need a little more.
They're trying to kind of capture some of the Miata.
I get that, but it's like, at least do a turbo version. Like, do us some mods. You got to do something. Like, they can't all be slow.
No, and I 100% agree. The Miata is something entirely different. You know, it's just The dynamics are different. Of course, it's a convertible. It's supposed to be made in that sports car, but the British sports car style. Like, it's people don't buy a Miata thinking it's going to be the fastest thing in the world. But when you look at this, and it comes from Toyota and or Subaru, and they're known for the STI, they're known for the Supra. Like, people expect something different out of this. They don't expect a 190, 180 to the tire horsepower car that runs the quarter mile in 16 and a half seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, they gave it a little bump in power. That helps, I guess, but it's not what I'm thinking.
Is part of the problem also just where we are with vehicles, where commuter cars are now running 14-second quarter miles? We've talked about this before, but is that part of the deal? It's too pedestrian. Like, these kind of performance numbers are normally reserved for a Subaru Outback that you're loading Huskies into the back of.
Yes, but my thing is it's getting beat by its competition
Mhm.
that is 20 years older than it.
Right.
So if it's getting smoked by Mazda Speed Miatas and S2000s and that ilk, Hyundai, what was the Hyundai Genesis and stuff,
Mhm.
it needs to be better than the stuff that was made 20 years ago. Like, and I get this probably does handle a little better than most of that stuff with the
Mhm.
flat 4 and super low center of gravity, but I haven't even really seen like built versions of these that
Mhm.
really are that impressive.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I'm not following Time Attack real hard right now, but like looking at the stock form of this vehicle, you would think there would be some beast Time Attack versions of these cars, just crazy aero and huge
Mhm.
motors, and there's not. I mean, there is, but they're not what you think. So it's like we need something else.
Yeah, I agree. Because you're looking at like a Time Attack Honda Civic with roughly the same amount of horsepower from like a built B18. That thing's going to weigh 1,800 pounds. It's going to have crazy aero. It's going to have all the stuff, but it's a good platform to start with because the power to weight ratio is there.
Yeah, there's that. And I mean, honestly, BRZs are really similar in weight, and now with the new motor, pretty close in horsepower to an S2000. I mean, S2000s with the crank were like 240.
Right.
And 6-speed manual, and they're like 2,800 pounds right in there, kind of depend on which model and stuff. So they're right there in weight, but like there's some beast S2000s and not so much BRZs.
Well, but the S2000 was really set up from the factory to race. I mean, you could take it straight to the track and throw down some serious lap times. These cars, they're softer. You know, Subaru and Toyota admit that the tires they put on these are not good tires because it makes it easier to slide. They admit that they left things soft so that people can learn how the car handles, you know. So you also have to kind of factor that in. These are not factory race cars. These are actually just, they're funsy cars. You know what they are, Coy? Toyota has produced the perfect vehicle, brand new vehicle for LS swaps.
True. They made the perfect vehicle to be what the 240 is now.
Yeah.
In 15, 20 years.
Exactly.
Here's what's sad. Used S2000s are going for a lot more money than used BRZs.
Yeah. Well, they made a lot more of these. A lot more Ricer douches were buying these than S2000s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but S2000s are clearly quite a bit older.
Well, that's true.
You know.
See, I've always liked the BRZ FRS personally. I always have. I don't really fit in them well. My head hits the top, so obviously wearing a helmet's going to be an issue. And so if I ever bought one, I would immediately need to lower the seat. But I've always liked the look of the first gen. These second generation ones, they're just a little too generic. The performance is generic. The looks are generic. They are a 6-speed manual, rear wheel drive commuter car. And they just have not captured the magic of the Miata in the same way that the Miata has. They're chasing that dream and it's just not there. You know, BMW with the Z3 and the Z8, they caught some of that. The S2000 caught a whole lot of that. You know what I mean? The S2000 has always been the rich man's Miata, but these, they're a step behind. They are the new 240SX.
I can't add anything to that. That's a great thing to go out on.
Yeah, I'm 100% right, and you know it. But You know what I think we should be talking about here is something that Toyota did. I don't know if it was a good thing that they did or a bad thing that they did. You seem to kind of feel like they were going in the right direction. I'm not so sure, but I think we should talk about it. It's going to be our Overland of the week. You ready for this?
Ready?
Overland is fucked! And now I got to edit that part. I do this every week. All right, man. The new 2021 Toyota 4Runner Trail. Is it Trail Edition or Trail Special Edition?
I think it's Trail Special Edition.
All right. Well, it boasts some colors and a cooler. And I feel like that's about it. Can you kind of give us a rundown on this thing, man?
It's basically that. It's more or less a bare bones SR5 in some unique colors. Comes with a Yakima roof basket, and then it has a slide out rear storage
That
area,
is cool.
which I love, and it comes with a nice little cooler on that slide out.
And of course, the TRD Pro wheels with the bigger tires. So that's good. But I just I don't want to like jump the shark here, but I just want to reiterate, this is basically the base model SR5.
It 100% is the base model SR5
with a couple of those goodies and a special paint color. This
no off-road package, no locker, no cool stuff.
No. And I mean, look, man, I'm sure this is a very capable off-roader even as it sits, right?
Yeah.
And this is available in a couple of cool colors. It's got this cement gray that's available in, and of course the army green.
Yep, love both those colors. So they don't say in this article, and I don't know, but so like the Trails Teams edition, FJs like what I have. So to get a Trails team package, it was mandatory to have like, you couldn't get a Trails team package without the off-road package, which is the rear locker. So when you actually bought one and you had it was broken down, it had all these other packages and stuff in there, which you couldn't buy it without. Do you think you're going to be able to add an off-road package to the special edition and get a rear locker and the traction control and 8-track and whatnot?
It would be absolutely silly if you couldn't. I mean, that would make no sense from Toyota, because this is really bridging that gap. What does the TRD Pro come in at? Almost 50,000, isn't it? 51,000?
This comes in about $10,000 less than a Pro.
$10,000 less than the Pro. And I mean, look, that's still not cheap. I'm not really looking to spend $40,000 on a 4Runner, if I'm being honest. But if I want some off-road goodies, okay, maybe not off-road. If I want some overland goodies, if I want to be able to go out and play with my buddies who are doing treks between here and the Alps, you know?
So for me, this is guy goes in and looks at a TRD Pro and his credit rating isn't quite where it needs to be. Not that the TRD Pro is the end all be all, but I mean, this is clearly hitting on the overland market when they pop that back up and it has the slide out with a cooler.
Yep.
And I mean, it's not just an Igloo. Well, it could be an Igloo. I don't know.
No, I think it's a Yeti.
It's the Yeti or Yeti style, that thick wall beastie cooler. The one that makes you look, yeah, that's a cooler.
The one that homeless people steal. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they're getting into this market. They got to do some stuff. Toyota, I've been saying it, Toyota's got to get on top of the ball. We got, the Jeep Gladiator. We got the Bronco coming out. Toyota's not innovating. They're not coming out with anything new. So they're going to come out with some of this kind of BS for a little while and then hopefully come out with something groundbreaking, but hopefully. But for right now, Toyota's just, they're kind of king of the heap in the overland world. So
listen, I know
why not add some overland stuff from the factory?
Well, I've already used this analogy in the show, but this seems like a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. This seems like a company that's very comfortable with their position at the top and is just kind of throwing some crumbs down for the people who are starting to climb the heap with their Broncos.
It does.
And 392 Gladiators.
But this is what Toyota's always done. Always. If you go to any Toyota truck, like the entertainment system, the seats, everything is 5 years behind everyone else. Now, part of that is where their reliability comes from because they only use super proven stuff. But if you get into a Toyota, for the most part, their tech is at least 5 years behind any of the competition.
And that's part of their reliability strategy.
Well, that one could only think. I mean, I don't know what other strategy you would have.
You should be a marketing person for them. You know that?
I should.
I get it. I know that our interiors are old. I know that the sound systems are low quality, but they'll last forever.
I would be a bad marketing person because I would just be screaming at engineering. Where's something with a front freaking locker? Look around. Bronco's coming in hot. Wrangler has a 3 freaking 92.
Maybe you haven't heard, but we've got an advanced traction control that will squeeze the brakes and it acts like a locker, but better.
So do Hyundai Tiburons.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. So what do you think? I mean, is this thing just kind of a stopgap, or is this kind of a hidden deal for people who want a 4Runner but don't want to get the TRD Pro?
So honestly, it's both to me. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that want a 4Runner and it's got a cool slide out. It's got a roof rack. It's kind of ready to go. No, it doesn't have lockers and the traction control stuff. Half the people that overland, including myself, never use that. So
no, that's not true. I know you do snow runs.
But I mean, when you're overlanding, even if you're going in the high desert and stuff, 99.9% of the time, you will never engage your 4-wheel drive unless you just want to go 4-low and chug along. Like most of these roads are easily done in a Subaru. So this will do 99% of the overlanding that needs done. So hopefully that roof rack on there is load rated to get a rooftop 10 on it. And these people literally just leave the factory, throw a 10 on this thing, and they can go live their expedition dreams out, you know?
So even with the open differentials, it is, if you get the 4-wheel drive model, and since we're talking about it, I'm just going to throw this out there. Pricing starts at $39,490 for the 2-wheel drive model, $41,790 for the 4x4 model. Obviously, you have to get the 4x4.
So honestly, here in the Northwest, you would be hard pressed to find a 2-wheel drive model dealer.
Yes, 1000% agree.
Now, in 5 years, somebody's gonna be on Facebook and be like, "Wow, this 4Runner's so much cheaper. It's such a deal," and they're gonna buy it, and then get home and realize it's not 4-wheel drive,
AKA pre-runner.
This person moved from someplace else, where
You've got
Arizona or someplace,
where
dealers get 2-wheel drive models.
You have a friend that got a pre-runner and was so sure it was 4-wheel drive.
I have a friend whose friend.
Oh yeah.
Bought a pre-runner.
You have a loose acquaintance,
and he was like, "Bro, that's not 4-wheel drive." And he's like, "Yeah, it is. Look at it." And he's like, "Okay, put in 4-wheel drive then." And he's like, "Yeah, look underneath, find some drive shafts." Yikes. And he actually went to the dealer to get a 4-wheel drive, like, because he had a 2-wheel drive truck. And he went there and bought a pre-runner.
Imagine how gutted you would be. Absolutely gutted.
I would straight up kill myself.
Oh man. All right, but seriously, at $41,000, I can't call this any kind of a performance bargain, but if you are looking for a 4Runner, which I know a lot of people are,
this is going to speak to a lot of people.
I think so.
And at the very least, people are going to sell those slide outs, and people who currently have 4Runners that are overlanding are going to want those.
And there's already an aftermarket for base model 4Runners, right? You can already buy,
That is the other thing. So a lot of people buy a TRD Pro, they clearly had money since they bought a Pro. Then they take out the Pro suspension and put whatever. They basically gut everything that is in the Pro and put aftermarket on. So there is some, other than the rear locker, which everybody keeps. If you were planning on buying a 4Runner and extensively modifying it, this is a pretty, I mean, your $10,000 of mods will get you quite a ways.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's
sure.
a full built suspension, sliders, and some armor, so
rear limited slip, maybe. Yeah,
get you an air locker. You're gonna re-gear the thing anyways, probably, if you're getting bigger tires. So just boom, get you an air locker. Like, I mean, that's probably $15,000 worth of stuff. But I'm just saying, if you're planning on building one anyways, I I would go this route if my true intention was to do a full build on a 4Runner. I would buy this before the Pro all day long.
What about the Toyota Climb Control? Is that something you can live without?
I've never had it. It's not on my vehicle. So I think it's a crawl control.
Crawl control.
They had the 2014 FJs had it, but it's a more advanced version of the A-Track.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's like off-road cruise control kind of. I don't really know exactly how it works. I've never used it, but
well, my F-150 has something like that. They call it descent control, but it really works ascending as well. It's almost kind of like a speed controller. It sets it, whatever your speed is. So like if I'm descending or if I'm climbing, I really don't have to hit the gas unless I want to go faster, or brakes if I want to go a little slower. Other than that, it will just kind of set the speed and continue to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, the crawl control has some other feature, like it apparently works well on sand if you bury it, and you'll set the crawl control and the tires are just turning real slow, and then all of a sudden it just kind of unstucks itself. I don't really understand the witchcraft magic stuff involved, but I'm way beyond electronic traction control stuff for the most part. So,
well, yeah, once you get 37s, it's kind of a moot point.
The A-Track's kind of nice. It has its moments, but beyond that, it's whatever.
Okay. All right. So I kind of went into this, to be honest, thinking, well, this is just a poor man's 4Runner, but you've kind of convinced me otherwise.
Well, it's just like a lot of guys will buy the Rubicon Jeeps. They got front and rear lockers, blah, blah, blah. Then they got all the Rubicon parts. They want to put 40s on it or something. So the axles with those lockers, not big enough. So they ditch. By the end of the 5 years later, they have none of the Rubicon parts. So it's like, would you have been better getting a stockish Wrangler, paying way less, having that much more budget to just start out putting the parts you wanted on?
That's a really good point, Coy. That is a really good point. Wow. I hadn't really thought about that. So, I mean, there might be some logic behind their reasoning doing this. I thought it was just Toyota cheaping out, but
no, Toyota's fully cheaping out, but there is a market for this vehicle. It'll sell.
All right. Fair enough. Wow. Okay. Huh. Well, gosh, I mean, I think that's kind of it. That's our Overland AF of the week, huh?
Absolutely.
Overland is fun. There we go. That's how I'm going to censor that
Nailed
one.
It. Nailed it.
So I got to be honest with you right now. If you were going to run out and buy an off-road rig brand new, because I don't think the Bronco is available for purchase yet, is it?
No, it's not.
So if you had no other choice,
like a semi truck hits my FJ and it's totaled,
and the insurance is like, wow, you've got a lot of work done to this, we're going to give you $45,000 for it.
Okay, yeah.
Where are you going?
I'm waiting for the Bronco to come out. I mean, honestly, at this point, if something happened to my Toyota, I'd probably wait for a Bronco to come out, or at least wait till there's more info. You know what I mean? I would consider just a Toyota pickup. I'd consider that. Used Raptors.
Ooh, yeah.
They're getting down there. If you want to go with an older V8 Raptor, that has its, I'm attracted to those. Like,
they have their place. Yeah.
I could be talked into it. I mean, if it's not a daily driver, V8 Raptor could be a great truck for cruising around the desert and whatnot, you know? Probably not going to go with a Gladiator at this point. I love them, but I don't really want one. It's kind of one of those things.
Does the 392 entice you a little more or no?
In 10 years, they may, but right now with the price, $80,000 or whatever, I was like, there's going to be, if we're going to spend that kind of money, there's going to be a Bronco Warthog Raptor thing coming out at some point, and I'm kind of, that sounds amazing. So
yeah,
honestly, I'd probably be doing a little sitting on my money.
Gotcha. Okay. Wouldn't be going for the Trail Special Edition, huh?
No, absolutely not. I'm not going to go buy a 4Runner. 4Runner is the bottom. I mean, they're a great rig, and you can build them to be a fine overland specimen. But they're the bottom of the heap right now, in my opinion. Reliability wise, amazing. Other than that, just technology and all around and off-road prowess, they're not that amazing. Like Toyota's whatever their next redesign is, hopefully is spectacular, and that's what I want to see.
It's so weird to me because you think 4Runner and you look at all of the overlanders out there, you think that those are the top of the heap.
Well,
But
they are. But
they are, but performance-wise, they really aren't.
that's the thing, though, is, I mean, one of the main performance aspects of overlanding is not being broken down 200 miles from a paved road. So,
also true.
So they have their place. But I mean, I've been saying it for a while. Love Toyotas. They're straight up lacking. They're resting on their laurels, just riding out on their name right now. Even honestly, Toyota's reliability still better than most companies has been falling. Like I've noticed, you watch, it's dropping down, which I feel a little bit of that has to do with the GT86 having a ton of problems with the heads there a couple years ago and stuff. But you know, Toyotas, they're not what they were. So I mean, still a great company, but they have to make a move, in my opinion, and they need to do it pretty soon, the next 2 years.
Well, comfort doesn't breed innovation. We all know that. When a company gets too comfortable, then they really don't get innovative. And I think innovation is exactly what we should be talking about with our Smokin Deal or Smokin Doob. If I can find my mouse, here it is. This definitely is something that, you know what fueled this instead of innovation?
What?
Cocaine. Smokin Deal or Smokin Adobe. 1000%. This is a cocaine built car. This is a.
I can't even. I literally can't even.
This is a 1980.
Wait, where is this though?
In Rochester, Pennsylvania.
Gosh. Oh, these ones. How much is it?
It is $2,500 as of 3 weeks ago.
Straight up. Okay, just so people know, this is some kind of horrible 3-wheeler dragster stealth fighter RC car looking thing. If this was in Washington or Oregon or Northern California, I don't know that I'm pretty sure I'd buy this.
It's got one of those hood scoops we were just talking about.
Is that hood scoops or is that headlights?
Oh, maybe that's headlights.
I think that's pop-up headlight.
Well, listen, here's all you really need to know about this. Coy, you described it earlier.
There was an Adult Swim cartoon. The name is escaping me.
It was Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
TV Funhouse.
Yeah.
Ambiguously Gay Duo.
The Ambiguously Gay Duo. It looks a lot like their mobile. I don't remember. Wienermobile. Yeah, this thing looks like a male phallus a lot.
Yeah.
It's very peen shaped.
Honestly, this looks like it's out of an 80s action movie.
It does kind of have that. Now,
so what do you think about the fact that the entire, like, instead of like a cabin, there's a cowl?
Yeah,
goes
it's
over
like
the
a
driver
World War
and
II airplane where the entire windshield and side windows come up. I mean, clearly this is a homemade kit or something, but I love it.
Very angular.
I'm just
crazy angular.
I'm gonna throw this out here. There's a couple things we can do here.
Yeah.
One, we go full ambiguously gay duo, and we just embrace the peen shape of this and just, I mean, we go to town on it. Second thing we do, we keep it lowered like it is. This appears to be running a Volkswagen, Volkswagen Bug transaxle. We get a turbo Subaru engine kit, stick it in there. We use turning brakes. We just drive wheelie bar, obviously, but with casters on it, so I can steer while I'm doing wheelies. And I just do wheelies everywhere. Number 3, which I'm kind of leaning this way.
Parades, stoplights, school zones. Yeah, wherever.
Leaving the gas station, coming into the gas station. The last thing I would do, or the last thing on my list, but probably the first thing that I would do, Baja bug this thing, jack the back end up, do a little modification in the front, so I'm running a 33-inch tire up there, and then gamble it hard.
So Jake's in the comment, he says it looks like the cockpit of an X-Wing. I don't know what an X-Wing is, but...
Nerd!
Is that like a Star Trek thing?
I'm thinking so.
So let's just quickly run through the description here. It's very short. 1983 wheeled car, homemade fiberglass, runs but isn't perfect, needs restored, has a rebuilt carburetor, is a titled vehicle, but we don't have the title. Ugh.
That sucks, but
It has to just be titled as a Volkswagen Bug, right?
absolutely. It's just everybody thinks this is as the DMV knows it, this is a Volkswagen Bug for sure.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to talk them down. Another $800.
It does
Oh.
still have a registration
It
plate.
has a special plate.
Mhm.
So this actually may not be registered as a bug. Even if it's not, I'll go buy a bug that has a title that's just a rusted frame and VIN swap it to this.
For sure.
And
100%.
Just call it a bug again. Yeah, there's no reason. You know what? Changed my mind. I did say a Subaru turbo platform in this. They make the RX-7 rotary kits to go on these transmissions. With the shape of this car, it would only make sense to just have a mean Bridgeport and just angry weed eater.
Ugh. Yes, 1000% agree with that. Holy shit. Now, if you wanted to do more extensive changes to this, more extensive modifications, Coy,
Yeah,
there is really only one thing you could do with this, and that is a K series in the back.
not a bad call. Not a bad call. Actually.
I'm just saying, if you find yourself like a rear-ended 2008 Honda Civic Si, and just take the subframe out and find a way to mate it to whatever they consider a frame in this monstrosity, I have no idea.
I mean, K series is good, but if I paid $2,000 for this, do I go K series, or do I find a side impact Accord V6 manual trans?
With the J32, or better yet, the J35.
I mean, we want the torque to bring the front end off the ground,
Yes,
which probably doesn't have to be much. I love the steering wheel.
No, this thing is long.
Yeah, but it's fiberglass and trash.
Yeah.
I do love the steering wheel, how it's like futuristic looking, but it's just a round one that they've cut the bottom off of.
Dude, the molded seats are where it's at for me. And then the fire extinguisher in between. I have a feeling that's there not for aesthetic reasons,
It's for
but
safety.
it's for practicality.
Well, if you roll this over and there's a fire, you can't get out.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah, the hood, the roof opens up to get out. So, yeah, I'm guessing that's plexiglass. So keep a battery powered Sawzall in there to cut your way out.
You know the battle bots, the bots that show up and then they're like low and flat, but when they get flipped over, they have no way of righting themselves.
Yeah,
and they just sit there until they catch fire.
Yeah,
that's what this is.
Absolutely, that's absolutely what this is.
Listen, the molded seats I'm in love with. The everything that looks very it's not futuristic. Here's the thing,
it's very aeronautical,
80s aeronautical.
Well, yeah, not actual aeronautical, but like cartoon aeronautical.
Yeah, this is what people thought we would be driving in the year 2000 in 1979.
Yeah, it almost makes me wonder if like a college built this or something.
No, this is somebody's pet project from a barn.
But it has all the aeronautic.
This is somebody's grandfather that had a lot of nasal surgery, and they never knew why. They just thought he had a deviated septum, but actually he just partied real hard.
Really, really hard. I like the toggle switches.
You start finding photos of your grandfather with the Who, Jim Morrison. You're like, oh, granddad was kind of cool back then. How come he's a nerd now?
I like it has a cup holder. That's a plus.
Looks like a change holder, but yes, I'm with you.
Well, no, 70s. It's an ashtray.
Oh yeah, ashtray. Yeah. It's got plenty of flat sheet metal to snort off of.
Lots of toggle switches. Toggle switches never go out of style.
No, these ones don't even do anything.
Why should they?
This one makes sure that the power from the one wire alternator gets where it needs to be. This one starts it. This one
dome lights.
This one's the dome lights. This one's obviously for the underbody glow.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, headlights maybe.
Man. One switch to pop the headlights up, the other one to turn them on.
Yeah.
It's basically a Miata.
Yeah, no, I want this really bad.
This back end needs some serious work. I don't know what I would do to this back end, but it's way too generic for the rest of this vehicle. It's got like Corvette taillights. It's got the crank nose from the VW engine sticking out the back.
Well, I'm guessing there's a hatch that goes over that or something. Like surely it doesn't just sit that way.
You're guessing that there was a hatch.
I should say. I'm going to lose that bumper and I'm just going to fiberglass mold that just a nice bumper delete with a nice LED
Yes.
strip all the way across.
Yes. Oh, the tail lights completely go away. You
Yeah.
just go with the LED strip.
I'm just thinking with that kit style.
Yes.
You know, that firing LED to this, you know, whatever direction I'm going.
Well, and you can get an RGB LED now, so it can be red when you're braking, it can be yellow when you're turning, and then it can be white when you're backing up.
And green when I'm pulling a wheelie.
Yes. 1000%. Oh man, this thing.
This is $2,500 is what they're asking for this. Why does it have to be in Pennsylvania?
It is worth, listen, it is just worth looking at. If you guys are out there listening to the podcast or watching the live stream, please head down to the bottom of the description. We do have a link to this thing. Go and check it out and give them some love. Share it out to whatever funny meme pages you have, because they need to get this thing sold before I drive myself over to Pennsylvania to get it.
I straight up want this. I'm going to go $2,500. I'm sure you can talk them down some more, but I think I would give them $2,500 for this.
Yeah, but it says make offer. I think I would just take Kyle and Zachary from PPI along with me.
$500.
Yes.
Fine, $550. That's, you know, but even if he was just like firm at $2,500, I still might go for it. Like, this is cool. I've never seen anything like this, and hopefully never see anything else like this again. But I super want to get this and do something with it.
Yeah, it's amazingly bad or something. I don't know.
This is like out of the Mexican knockoff of Back to the Future.
Oh man,
it's like something out of a Bollywood, you know?
Yeah, 100%. This is, you know, during the early 80s when everyone was trying to knock off Rambo and just kept getting weirder and weirder, like Delta Force and then Rainbow Freedom. I mean, just whatever those movies were called. There was that movie where it's become a cult classic now, but the dude's got a rocket powered bike. But the scene where he's riding the rocket powered bike, you can tell he's just like sitting on a motorcycle and trying to move his body around as though he's flying the thing, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like it was out of.
Honestly, if this was painted black, I would say it was out of the Street Fighter movie from like early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
They had a stealth boat in there that was horrible. This would fit right in.
Ooh, yeah.
Van Damme was in it. Yeah.
I could see Van Damme jumping out of this thing, doing the splits on top of the cowl.
Yeah.
All right, Coy. So at $2,500, is this thing a deal for you?
I don't want to say yes, but like obviously I would talk him down. But if it was like firm at 2,500 and this was around to me, we have the gambler and stuff. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna go look at it and I'm gonna bring $2,500. I just, like I need a little bit of I need to check it out, see what's going on, but I'm gonna have $2,500 with me.
If they were able to start it for you,
if I could drive this down the street and back, no, for sure.
Just take my money.
Yeah. The title part in Oregon may be different in Pennsylvania, a little bit of a pain, but I can just find some trash Volkswagen and just VIN swap it for sure. So
100% agree. I'm with you. I think that this thing is a deal at almost any price. If it was $2,000, I would definitely be looking hard at it, because if you had $10,000 to spend, I think you could make this something seriously dangerous. I mean, this would be
dangerously dangerous.
This would literally be just a suicide capsule.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way that I wouldn't rip massive wheelies in this thing.
Oh, constantly. I would never do anything else. I would just rip fat wheelies. This might be the perfect car.
Turning brakes. That's all I have to say.
Yes. Don't do locker in the rear, but you could do limited slip and turning brakes.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, that's it. That's our Smokin Dealer, Smokin Doob. If you know anything about this car, please do reach out to us. If you think that we're smoking crack and this thing's not worth anything, let us know. If you think that it's worth $10,000, let us know. And we want to know what you would do with this car. I mean, seriously, we want you to reach out to us and let us know what you think about this rig, because Coy and I, we know a lot, but we don't know anything about rigs like this. So is it a deal? Is it a doob? Let us know your thoughts. Smokin Deal or Smokin Adobe. All right, Coy, listen, man. I think that's about all we have time for right now. We're a little bit over time, but we did pretty good on this one.
I think we did all right.
Yeah. It certainly, our audio is going to be better than last week. That's for sure.
I don't know what happened last week.
I don't know either. But hey, this is episode number 10. No, excuse me, episode number 9 because of last week. This is episode 9. Episode 10 is what we've been trying to reach with the horsepower hour. Once we hit episode 10, we're going to announce some pretty cool, fun stuff. We've already talked about a few of the things here, racing shopping carts and maybe a little lawnmower action. Unfortunately, not only is Coy not involved with any decision-making process, so it all falls on me. Thanks for that, buddy.
You're welcome.
Also, I'm having foot surgery here in a couple of weeks, so might put a damper on just a few things. But, we've got some fun stuff coming up for the show. And I think people are going to be really interested. The shopping cart races, Bum Rush 2000. I can't wait for that, man. I've started accumulating parts. I don't know if you have.
BR2K.
Our buddy Garrett, he's got parts. He reached out to me the other day, and he's like, bro, I've got the drivetrain all sorted. Like, are we doing this or not? I was like, yes. Yep.
Is Garrett going to be the first one with a functional shopping cart?
He might. I didn't think it would happen, but he might be the first one with a functional shopping cart, bro. We got to get on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something, I guess. I got to get a shopping cart. I've been kind of scrounging around. They're like $40. They're actually not that expensive, but I'm thinking about just taking one, to be honest.
$40. I can probably just tell Corvallis PD, oh yeah, no, I'm snagging these to return to the stores, and then just yoink.
Well, I like to collect a big bunch of them at my house and then take them back in the store.
Otherwise, the trip's not worth it, right?
Yeah, I don't gas and things.
That's right. Hey, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for being here. You guys out there, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for telling a friend about the show. It really is what keeps us going. Merch is available. teespring.com/store/the horsepower hour. We still have that new March shirt coming out. Working with the graphic designer a little bit. It's been some, hiccups here, but we're going to go ahead and get that shirt out, and it's going to run a little bit later into April so that nobody misses out on it. It's a great shirt, and I'm excited to have that thing out. Coy can be found at the Horsepower Hour on Facebook and Instagram. Reach out and talk to him. Let him know that you love everything that's going on. Coy, you got anything exciting coming up that we should look forward to?
I don't, but I just want to let our listeners know. I want to get some reviews on our iTunes, on our Facebook page, on whatever app you use to listen to this podcast. Give us some reviews, good or bad. Be funny, be normal, be serious, whatever. We have like a total of like 6.5 reviews. So we're going to see your review, and there's a pretty good chance that we'll bring it up on air if we start getting some reviews. So please just give us a review.
Yep, 100%. We appreciate you guys for it. And for Coy Forticus and Masterson Jr. Senior Esquire, this is Amy. Well, see you next time.